So, okay, this is a lot, but just bear with me, right? I spoke about discernment not so long ago, I think yesterday, the importance of being able to discern. And I also touched on why healing and spiritual growth is so important. But you're not gonna believe what I got today. So I was meditating on First Samuel from chapter 17 from verse 41 to 48. So for those who don't know it, it speaks about the exchange of words between Goliath and David just before the battle started. So Goliath looked at David, right, as a little boy, very handsome and tiny with a stick on his hand, whereas Goliath had weapons. Like already he's big, he sees himself as big, right, and already he has weapons on him. And so when he looked at David as a young boy, very handsome and with just the stick, he felt frustrated. He felt like wanyata, really, like, you guys are sending a little boy to come and fight me, a little boy with a stick to come and fight me, right? And he spoke words of him going to destroy David and feed him to the birds and whatever, right? And David then stood bold and kind of countered the words that Goliath said by letting him know that the battle does not belong to him. The battle belongs to God, and that God will deliver Goliath unto him. Not just Goliath, but Goliath's people also unto them. Also, this got me thinking of how you are able to, like, as you grow spiritually, you're able to catch yourself. You're able to catch your thoughts. When your thoughts suggest something that is negative, right? Something that's not true about you. Something that's against who you are. You're able to catch them. And I think it is also said in science that it takes, I'm not sure how many seconds for one thought to bring about more thoughts of the same nature. So if you allow the first thought, the first negative thought, and the second one, it's only a matter of seconds until these thoughts give birth to thoughts that are of the same nature, negative thoughts. And your mind, before you know it, your mind goes. But as soon as you expose the thoughts and hand the thoughts, deliver the thoughts to God, like bring them to light, shine truth on the thoughts, counter the thoughts, they lose power. And the thoughts that you use to counter the thoughts go on to birth thoughts or bring about thoughts of their nature, good thoughts. And this is also why it said that it is important to read scripture or to read the truth about who you are and who God is and everything else, so that when those negative thoughts come, you have the truth in you, which you'll use to counter those thoughts. If you do not have the truth in you, what will you say to the thoughts? You'll most probably give in to them. And they will bring about fear, doubt, anxiety, and the cycle goes on, which will lead to your actions. What this got me thinking of is that Goliath, the enemy comes to us in form of our thoughts and the words we tell ourselves, as well as the words from others. So it manipulates others into speaking falsely to us. The one other very important thing that stood out to me was that it seems as though the enemy's growth is stunted, or rather was stunted, as soon as he was thrown out of heaven and onto the earth. And I also got the thought that as soon as you focus your mind, as soon as you focus on things of the world, your growth becomes stunted. your spiritual growth becomes stunted. That's just the link I made there. And then secondly, the fact that Goliath looked at David and saw a little boy, but not the spirit man, made me think that what if the enemy really does not see our spiritual man? Because if he knew how grown David's spirit man was, he would have feared, actually. He would have gotten intimidated. But rather, he got offended that they sent a little boy to come and fight him. And this made me realize that as you heal and as you grow spiritually, the enemy cannot see that. And that his growth is stunted. He cannot see that as a result of him not having entry to heaven. And you remember I spoke about Christ being the door through which you enter. You go in and out of heaven, which is like an incubation, just like when you are in the womb, where you get spiritual nourishment. So he does not see your spirit man, your spiritual growth, your healing. When it attacks you, it uses the same old tricks and the same old ways, because first off, the growth is stunted, and then secondly, it sees you as that little boy, right, that it could lie to and intimidate and try to distort its identity. The enemy did not know how God's relationship with David is and how grown he is spiritually, that he can discern and he knows who he is and he knows where he's headed. He knows the power that is within him as a result of him growing spiritually. But the enemy does not know that. You know what he knows? He knows that you growing in relationship with God is a threat to him, is danger to him. That's why I often say also, or a lot of people also often say, that the enemy is not concerned about your church attendance. The enemy is not concerned about the good deeds that you do. He is concerned about you knowing who you are. And you knowing whose you are. And you living from that. Which essentially comes from you having a relationship with your Father. You having a relationship with God. There is, I promise you, I don't think there's any other way of you getting to know who you really are and what you possess and whose you are, unless you have a relationship with the God in you. So he knows that is a danger to him. The growth in relationship with the God in you is a danger to him. That's why he used the old tricks of trying to distort your identity, the way you see yourself, because he knows if you don't know who you are, if you don't know whose you are, you will not act. Like, simplest example, if you see yourself as someone who's powerless, someone who is a victim to life, and like things just happen to you, you have no power to change your situation, you do not know who you are, and as a result you don't know what you possess, you don't know your capabilities. So the enemy tries to distort your identity as well as the way you see yourself. And if he does that, you wouldn't act from who God says you are. Instead, you would act from a place of being a victim and powerless. So healing, spiritual growth, and discernment, which comes as a result of growing spiritually, is important. So that you're able to see through your thoughts or past your thoughts. You're able to see past people's words. You don't see the person who's saying that. You see the one behind the person, the one using the person. Humans are susceptible to being used by the enemy because of their own personal shortcomings. So the more you grow, the more you're able to do that.